Hey there, everyone. Well, every time I decide to do a video about Kratom, I have to do a little bit of research to see what the latest bullshit case is regarding Kratom and who died this week. And I wasn't too surprised to find an article from this week about another person who is blaming Kratom for their death, or their son's death. Now, I want to touch on this briefly because talking about Kratom is one thing, but when you're talking about deaths and you're denying somebody's claim, that's a bold statement from my position. So I should say that I can't be 100% guaranteed that Kratom did not kill this kid. But I'd like to read you part of the article to explain the kind of BS that we've been fighting against since 2015 and 16 when the DEA decided they wanted to ban Kratom. At the time, they wanted to make it a Schedule I drug, which would eliminate use from it. And basically, nobody would be able to access it ever again. And we fought hard. We signed several petitions, people called their legislators, and it became a major issue. And we got them to back down, which was a shocker. But fast forward 5 years, and we're still facing these same kind of stories. So this is the most recent story. I'm just going to kind of gloss over it here. He's a 27-year-old kid. It says his personality was as big as his size. He was 6'4", a big guy. When he came over, he had a heart that was golden and true. It goes on to talk about what a great guy he was, which, of course, every story wants you to relate to the person. But this is where, it starts to get suspicious. He says, Jake suffered from severe social anxiety and discovered in college that drinking helped. He struggled with alcoholism most of his life. He'd been to treatment and back. So he had just gone to treatment, and then he'd gone back. He was in a sober living home where he appeared to be doing well. And then they worried about getting a call, and then they got a call and said that he had died from mitragynine toxicity, which is the compound within Kratom. So then it goes on to show the diagnosis. Mitragynine toxicity, aspiration pneumonia, early, and pulmonary congestion. And then cardiomegaly with bilateral ventricular dilation. Now, cause of death says mitragynine toxicity. So went on to, and this is the part that people always seem to leave out of these stories. It says, Jake's toxicology report showed that he had a non-significant level of ethanol, which means he had alcohol in his system. But if you're talking about a non-significant amount of ethanol, what does that mean? Alcohol leaves your system quickly. So, it's out within a matter of hours. So nobody can say for sure, but if he's mixing that with these others, he had a non-significant level of ethanol, therapeutic levels of antidepressants and anti-anxiety drugs and heart medication and some caffeine and nicotine in his system. Now, this is the same thing I read from all these stories. In fact, one guy got shot and they said Kratom was the death. I remember one guy fell out of a window because he was drinking or doing something, and they claimed Kratom was the cause of his death. They have fought, and the FDA has lobbied hard to, fight against Kratom. So it says, we're saying it's not a conclusion to say that Kratom is the cause of death. There's other contributing factors. That's the Kratom Association. It says Jake was overweight and was on blood pressure medication. And but when you ask the people, especially the people who were involved in, anybody who does, let me just first say this, the people who do these reports, the morticians, they're not doctors. And it's easy to misdiagnose a cause of death. It makes me wonder why specifically, first off, are they looking for Kratom? It's not something that you generally look for. And if so, what makes them think that that's the main cause of death when there are all those other drugs in his system? So, this is the kind of disinformation we've been fighting for a long time, and hopefully Kratom will remain legal for people for as long as, as long as we fight to keep it legal. There are a lot of stories about people trying to ban it in other countries, in Malaysia and Indonesia, and so far it's remained legal because the farmers do well on it, and the people who take it, there are so many benefits to Kratom. It's just unbelievable. And it got such a bad name, and I guess like anything else, it probably can be harmful for some people, and you want to dose properly and be reasonable with it. But for moderate adults who want something that helps with their pain or anxiety, I've found it very useful. And so blaming it on deaths like that, I don't think does any justice, and it's important to call them out. So I'm calling BS on that, and let me know what you think. Talk to you later.